Happy Halloween. We are in for a fright. I got to show you this. What is going on under Donald Trump's trousers? I can't believe I literally just said that. But I want to know. Now, someone showed a photo just of his pant leg. You can kind of see it in the right side of this shot on our right. And I wanted to make sure, guys, that this was the real deal. In other words, I'm not someone who's comfortable sharing AI or doctored photos. It's just not how I do things. It's not how we do things. So it took me a while. Reversed image search was not helping. But in time, I was able to yesterday find the original photo. And photo credit goes to Andrew Harnick, the photographer, and this was on Getty Images. So I was able to find this photo. And I want to back out of this shot for you so you can see a bit better what we are looking at. Where Donald Trump is standing is in Kyoto, Japan. This was the other day after he had met with the new Japanese prime minister. And there is a lot to say about that visit, including him getting kind of very, very lost. This is Prime Minister Takachi. And there's, we've seen there was some weird stuff that we've often seen him wandering around. But what you're looking at here is after he left and when he was on his way to the Asia summit, behind him is a helicopter. He took this helicopter from wherever they were meeting in Kyoto. And this is after he gets off the helicopter because he's about to board Air Force One. So he can continue on his journey. I think at that point, he was headed to Korea. Okay, to South Korea. So this is what you're seeing behind him. And he's exited the airplane. He exited, I think, after Scott Bessent. There were several of those folks on the plane. And what folks noticed in this shot, if you look at it, is something bulging on the inside of his left leg. Many people have suggested, even though it slipped a bit, that this is most likely, my friends, a catheter bag, and that perhaps Donald Trump has a catheter, a Foley catheter, and that this bag is a full urine drainage bag. Now, you might say, yuck. And I want to say to you, don't say yuck. I am not squeamish about medical issues. I just want to know what is going on with his health. There are numerous reasons why a person might be in a situation where they would have such a bag. And before I go through those, I want to show you what many people are suggesting this could be. And so let me share with you why folks are thinking that is a urine drainage bag attached to a Foley catheter. And here, if you look at what I'm looking at, you can see why folks would think that. So above, you have this little tube is called a Foley catheter. Then you see above on someone's, and this is not a drawing of Donald Trump's legs, this is just a random drawing on the internet. Then you can see underneath it some sort of device to hold that tube in place so it's not yanking around and making the patient uncomfortable. So that's holding it in place, and they're showing a connector. Then the drainage tube that is attached to the catheter itself, which will then terminate in the drainage collection bag, which is secured. In this case, you're seeing below the knee. Now, a lot of this makes sense. I'm not going to go through all the photos on the internet of different sizes of drainage bags, but it appears if this indeed is a urine drainage bag, it looks like it might be a 20 cc or 20 milliliter version. So why would Donald Trump have this? Now, then let me just be clear. Todd Fox, someone who is a regular on this show, last night mentioned he didn't think that's what it was. He thought it was probably some kind of knee support, meniscus or other kind of knee support brace, and maybe a heating or cooling device on there, like maybe an ice pack. I don't know. That could make sense too. But I want to know that the leg he typically drags that we have seen in photos and videos, and I went and checked, was his right leg. So let's just go for a second and ask ourselves, what if this is a filled urine drainage bag? One possibility is, and this can happen after you have had surgery and anesthesia, it's not uncommon for sometimes your bladder to have trouble awakening, and a Foley catheter has to be put in place. There could be other issues. The other possible issue is that given that he is at meeting after meeting, he may have to urinate frequently. This can happen if you have any prostate issues, or it could also happen. Remember that Donald Trump has those very swollen cankles, and you can see, or ankles. Let's look at them in this photo. It's hard to see his ankles under these pants, but previously we have seen that Donald Trump does. He indeed does have swollen ankles, and we've been told there's some sort of condition involving his blood not doing something or other, who knows? Or it could be congestive heart failure. No one really believes anything we're told about his health. But the bottom line is, what if he's on some sort of diuretic, something that is designed to get excess fluid building up in his body out? That would mean, and again, I'm not being squeamish, I like medical stuff. That would mean that he might have to urinate frequently, right? And if you are traveling and going to a lot of meeting after meeting after meeting, to have to get up every 20 minutes and do that would not be ideal. So it is possible that that's why they would put in the Foley for when he is meeting dignitaries, so he does not have to leave. All I know, my friends, is we deserve to know what this is, what he is wearing under his pants. Now, this isn't the first time that there were rumors that Donald Trump had a Foley catheter in place. And by the way, I didn't mention, I don't need to. I think anyone who's been in the hospital, regardless of what your anatomy is, knows that the Foley goes inside of your urethra. I guess that would be a woman, and inside of your penis, if you're a man, I'm saying it so you know, and threads up into your bladder so that the bladder drains automatically without you needing to use a facility. Again, I'm trying to tell you this in the most clinical way. None of this stuff is gross or disgusting, and don't say it is. The point is, he's got some kind of medical condition, and we need to know, is it something with his leg? Is it a urine drainage bag, and why? And remember, the other day, he was confusing the dementia test that he took with what he thought was an IQ test, and that he had to have an MRI of something. We don't know what part of his body was scanned or what parts, right? And this is something we need to know. Now, the other recent time when people were questioning whether Donald Trump had a Foley was at a wrestling match. And someone handed him the trophy. And I'm going to share with you, because this was attempted to be fact-checked, this story. And we will move off of this topic of what medical condition Donald Trump has shortly. And we will get on to, oh, thank you, Antifa's daughter. Yeah, America KKK is the scariest haunted house I've ever been in. We are there. And I'm going to get to some real scary stuff after I get off of this. But I want to add information. There was a rumor, and this was from June of 2025. Bear with me here. Here is Donald Trump. Oops. And I just thought I just had it. I'm going to go back to this photo. Sorry. Here is Donald Trump at a UFC, a wrestling event. I guess UFC is not the same thing. Ultimate Fighting Championship, so not World Wrestling. And someone put onto him the belt as if he was the winner. And so they pulled aside his jacket. And let me just blow this up a little bit. Here is, you see Ivanka behind him. if you follow Donald Trump's red tie down past the belt and to our right or his left, you see something pulling right there, a very thin thing. And people suggested that that might be a catheter. Now, this Yahoo News fact check talks about this. Someone said here on Instagram, Trump is absolutely wearing a Foley catheter. It's a tube inserted into the bladder to drain urine into a bag strapped to the leg. That line down his pants, not a crease, it's tubing. And someone said, every step he takes sounds like the sloshing of warm Capri Sun. Now, who knows? So this was from Instagram, and I have these ads that I can't help that are here. Sorry, guys. And someone said they could, there was an effort to try to confirm. So they asked Stephen Chung, these were the journalists at Yahoo News, asked Stephen Chung, the White House spokesperson, about this. Is Donald Trump wearing a Foley catheter? And although Yahoo News says that Chung denied the claim in an email, I'd like to read that email to you so that you can decide whether or not it sounds like a denial. So let's read this. The president has been oh, by the way, I'm going to add not true in my whisper after every lie. The president has been the most transparent president in history. Not true. And the recent medical report that was released clearly and unequivocally shows he is in peak condition. Not true. There was not much in that report. These conspiracy theories peddled by demented individuals hiding behind social media from a debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome. Okay, so I think there was, I'm sorry, I said this wrong, that these conspiracy theories peddled by demented individuals hiding behind social media and now being given a platform by the fake news clearly suffer from a debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome. Not true. I'm not hiding. You can see me. I'm not hiding behind social media, and I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. You do. Okay. These are the same people who have been caught trying to gaslight the American people for years by saying Joe Biden was cognitively fine when he was in in worse condition than we thought. Okay, so here's the deal. I didn't hear a denial in here. I didn't hear an answer for what was going on there. Okay, can we pivot now? I do think it is absolutely time. So in the spirit of Halloween, I'm going to thread in some Halloween photos here. I had an amazing Halloween yesterday at my law school. It began when in the lobby, they had these giant boxes of cinnamon and sugar apple cider donuts from a local mill. It was called Yates Cider Mill. Now, I'm in Michigan, so I'm not being paid to advertise Yates. It's great. There's another place called Franklin Cider Mill. Local cider mill apples are the bomb. It made my day. It gave me life. What else happened on Halloween yesterday? Well, I'm going to show you this photo. It's fabulous. So on the right is my colleague who, in a Scooby-Doo costume, and that colleague on the right does teach business law classes. On the left, you may wonder why there are two men dressed in tie Beanie Baby costumes, and get ready for this. They said, we're not Beanie Babies. We are Deanie Babies. These are two of our deans. Oh my God. I know it's really bad. And then finally, yes, my friends, I was voted as one of the professors to get a pie in the face. And let me tell you, I'm glad I put on an extra layer, the t-shirt they gave me, because when you are pied, the pie slides, what this was whipped cream in a pie tin. And they don't throw it at you. They just shove it in your face. I've never been pied before. Once is enough, but I'm honored just to be nominated. Okay, guys. So that's the spirit of Halloween for effing sure. But what's not the spirit of Halloween is Kristi Noem. and I know you probably know where I am headed with this. We went through the fact that Customs and Border Protection and or ICE had gone in to raid a small, a town, a neighborhood in Illinois right before a Halloween parade. Children were around, tear gas was spread, people were tackled to the ground. A man who was an American citizen who had just gotten back from running with his running group, who was in a car, he was tackled to the ground. 6 ribs were broken. And this is really terrorizing kids. And so understandably, the governor of Illinois, Governor J.D. Pritzker, said, we need to ask. Let me just share what Pritzker said, okay? And then I'm going to share. Let me share what Pritzker had to say to remind you, and then I'm going to share what happened next. Give me a moment. Here we go. Let's go.
Witnesses say the agents swept in, donning automatic weapons, pushed elderly people to the ground, and blasted the area with tear gas. They ended up detaining 3 people. None of them had done anything wrong. 2 of them were U.S. citizens. It had been a beautiful fall morning, with children and families getting ready to march in the long-anticipated Halloween parade. So imagine it. Children who woke up that morning expectant with joy and excitement to put on their costumes and celebrate with their neighbors in what they thought was a safe place at their homes. Armed, masked agents terrorizing innocent people, especially children, is unconscionable. Under the color of law, invading peaceful neighborhoods, no criminal targets. This wasn't happening before the Trump administration. Now, U.S. federal law enforcement attacking good and decent people unprovoked with no explanation. So don't believe it when they tell you that they're busting the worst of the worst gangs or gang members. They're attacking peaceful neighborhoods and terrorizing kids in Halloween parades. Children across the city are being traumatized. Their parents are being taken from them. Families are being ripped apart, sometimes in the most heartbreaking of circumstances. Witnesses say...
So, this isn't the first time you've heard this, what went down. And so understandably, J.D. Pritzker decided that he would implore Kristi Noem, head of the Department of Homeland Security, to back off, to not send in the goons, right? Not do that. And I think you probably know where this is going. And I will say to you, this is the height of evil. Children will carry with them and this trauma. Our country carries with it this trauma. And let me share with you what Kristi Noem had to say. So let me get this going for you. And here we go.
A quick final question following up on Chicago, because I know that there are a lot of Chicagoans talking about this right now, because there is a lot of ICE activity, obviously, in that city, and you are making the case, obviously, rightly so. But the governor has asked you specifically to pause immigration enforcement operations in that city. So he says that kids can safely celebrate Halloween. Do you have any plans to alter activity tomorrow on that day?
No, we're going to be out on the streets in full force and increase our activities to make sure kids are safe. Every day in Chicago, we're arresting murderers, child pedophiles, those who have perpetuated assault and pornography against children. we're going to be out there to make sure that they can be safe, enjoy the holidays, spend some time with their families and their neighbors and their communities, and they don't have to be the victim of a crime.
What a lying piece of garbage she is. If there is evidence of child pornography, if there is evidence of violent crime, then they would go to those specific people and find them. They are doing indiscriminate raids and looking for people who are brown, slamming them to the ground, arresting them, and then looking up their records to see, is there anything there, like a traffic violation or overstaying their visa. The lies, the cruelty is the point. I don't know if this woman ever had a soul or has some utter brain damage, but people like her in the Trump administration are monsters. I was just seeing on Facebook about a mom in nearby here in Michigan who was from Poland. She's been here like 20 years. She's taking care of her husband who has, I think, dementia. She has grown children. And they're giving her an ultimatum, like 24 or 48 hours to self-deport. These people are monsters. But I have some good news. In what should encourage us that nobody, maybe not is above the law, not quite that, but that power is not absolute. Even power of empire, even power of a monarchy, not absolute. And I don't know if you know where I am going with this, but you may have heard yesterday that King Charles had enough of the bullshit around his younger brother, Andrew. And although a few weeks ago, Andrew, I think it was a couple weeks ago, when Virginia Roberts Joffrey's posthumous autobiography came out called Nobody's Girl, you might remember that at that point, Andrew, because he was under pressure, said he would give up his titles of nobility, but not Prince. He was still going to be Prince. He said, he didn't say give them up. He said he wasn't going to use them anymore. Well, yesterday, oh my God. Yesterday, the king did, and I can't believe I'm calling him the king because we don't do kings here. But yesterday, King Charles did something that is kind of utterly amazing. And I just want to share a photo with you so you can see a pedophile that Kristi Noem does not mention. For example, the pedophiles, if she really cared about pedophiles, she would be out loud saying, hey, Pam Bondi, or, I'm not Attorney General, I'm just the Department of Homeland Security, but why aren't they releasing the Epstein files so we can know more about those dangerous people who have not been held accountable? But let me tell you about what happened in the UK. In the UK, King Charles stripped Andrew of royal titles and evicted him from the royal residence. This is yet one of many stories. This is the AP, Associated Press, and I will read this to you. You can see it as well. King Charles III on Thursday stripped his disgraced brother, Prince Andrew, of his remaining titles and evicted him from his royal residence after weeks of pressure to act over his relationship with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Buckingham Palace said. After the king's rare move, which follows years of shameful scandals, he will be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, not as a prince, and he will have to vacate his royal lodge mansion near Windsor castle. I love that. I only wish the Republicans who control the Senate and the House would also evict Donald Trump from the White House that he's trying to turn into a palace, strip him of his presidential title. It would be so easy. They have the power. It's right there in the Constitution, and not just because of his association with Jeffrey Epstein being his best friend for 15 years, which should be enough, but everything else that we have talked about. Now, where I want to head with this, and by the way, I gotta tell you, this is going to be a short show because it's Halloween and I have something I have to do. So we are gonna wrap this up in a moment. So you can also get out, get your costume ready, carve your pumpkins, buy your candy, spread joy and festivity. Okay, so I want to share this with you because this feels momentous. Okay, so this is related to Andrew, or the prince formerly known, the Andrew formerly known as Prince. Andrew Windsor, the disgraced alleged pedophile and second best friend to Jeff Epstein next to Donald Trump. Let's hear a little bit more about that. This made my day yesterday.
You're a prince.
Hold on. So this is Virginia Giuffre's brother and sister. Virginia Jeffrey Roberts' brother and sister-in-law. Let's play this. Oops, I got it. Not do this, right? Apparently, I actually need to share that screen. Let me do a little bit of a better job. Here we go.
And she is celebrating from the heavens right now, saying, I did it. This normal girl from a normal family has taken down a prince. We are so proud of her. Her survivors are proud of her, her sisters. This is a moment that is unprecedented in history. Period. That's it.
Sky, you've joined our program. You've rejoined our program. There was a risk that you would be overcome. I hope you don't feel that we've taken advantage of this moment by asking you, because we're all struck by you coming back to this moment. So thank you for sharing that with us. Amanda, I will ask you in the same spirit to thank you and to ask you the same question. I contrast the start in life of Virginia with Andrew and ask you how this moment would be received by her.
I remember last night before I went to bed, I looked at her photo and I had said, Virginia, we need a win. Everything that you've done, tell us that we're doing the right thing. And this happened today. And so I just know that, like, she would be so proud. And she would look at her children and say, yeah, I take down the bad guys.
And just before we lose you both, you're both at this moment in tears. Can I ask you just to take this moment and pause and leave us in a different note? You're her brother, Sky. Without asking you to repeat the emotion that you just have, could you look at us and just tell us your views about your sister's achievements, and we'll say goodbye on a stronger tone.
Look at your own sisters. Look at your own mothers and daughters and just tell them you love them.
Okay. And he goes on from there saying she was extraordinary and so on. I'm just taking that in. We can have that for ourselves. We need to collectively be as strong, if not stronger, than Virginia Jeffrey Roberts. We need to survive, we need to thrive, and we need to bring down Donald Trump 100% and more. Now, my friends, I'm not giving you crazy town. It's Halloween. You go out and have your crazy. I'm giving you a boost, a jolt of hope. And that is this. You know how much I love to follow the money. Well, there is a fabulous new story that the New York Times broke last night. And it is about suspicious transfers. And so I'm going to drop this in. I would give you hold on, let me just drop this in the chat. I would give you a gift link, but we're only given 10 free gift links a month, and I don't get refreshed until tomorrow, November 1st. So I've dropped that in the chat. So what I want to share with you is this story in the New York Times that broke yesterday. And you've probably heard that in 2019, after Jeff Epstein had committed suicide in prison when he had been arrested, this is a second time, right? This was the most recent charges, and this was out of New York. These were the federal charges. And the banks finally submitted their suspicious activity reports. And that's actually not a term of art, but a term of law. They're called SARs, S-A-R. It's required under the bank secrecy law. So banks submitted those. And what we have found out from the New York Times is some really flippin' interesting details in the JP Morgan Chase reports. My friends, this is big and it's just the beginning. So this is like a flippin' tip of the iceberg thing. This is my treat, not my trick for you today on Halloween. So let's show you this. Here's the article. I think you can see it. And here's the deal. JP Morgan Chase alerted US to Jeff Epstein transfers involving Wall Street figures. And this was more than $1 billion in potential suspicious transactions. And so it's kind of amazing. There are 4 different reporters on this, one of whom we've had on the show, I believe, or I've at least had David on my Booked Up podcast. We have Matthew Goldstein, David Enrich, Jessica Silver Greenberg, and Steve Eater. These are superstar reporters. Let me read you the beginning, and then I'm going to pull out a key thing you're never going to believe. Well, it's right here. Let me just read this. Weeks after Jeffrey Epstein died in federal custody in 2019, awaiting prosecution on sex trafficking charges, JP Morgan Chase filed a report alerting the U.S. government to tens of millions of dollars of potentially suspicious transactions involving him and prominent Wall Street and business figures. Let me read who some of them were. We've heard about Leon Black before, who co-founded Apollo Global Management. You may have heard of Glenn Dubin, who was a hedge fund manager, but guess who else was flagged? Alan Dershowitz. They call him the lawyer. I'd like to also call him Alan Dershowitz, the disgraced Harvard law professor. Yes, I was in his criminal law class. And trust controlled by Leslie Wexner, who they call the retail tycoon. I encourage you to read that article. I'm sure more is going to unfold from that. And with that, I bid you adieu. Until Monday, have a beautiful Halloween. Keep your eyes open. Oh my God, I forgot one other thing. Damn it, I gotta tell you this one thing. This is huge. Sorry. This is crazy town. You know what? You deserve a flippin' crazy town. Let's do it. I lied. There's gonna be crazy town. This one is crazy as F. Okay. Okay, guys. JD Vance. JD Vance is obviously gunning for the presidency. But people like Donald Trump and Steve Bannon keeping in the air this idea that this idea that somehow Donald could run again. So nobody wants to say anything. There's J.D. Vance and, of course, Marco Rubio, who are the heirs apparent. So I don't know if you heard this, but J.D. Vance went on TV saying, I really wish that my wife, who is Hindu, he didn't say who is Hindu, would convert to Christianity. He's been saying that. He's been talking about how there's nothing wrong with people not wanting to live near people who don't speak their language. He's been doing a lot of weird things. Even Jen Psaki is noticing that Usha Vance looks unhappy. How could she be happy with the shit that JD is saying? And now, in the craziest of crazy towns, JD Vance was at a Turning Point USA event, and he was seen on stage with Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow. Erica Kirk, and people all grieve in their own way, was wearing a pair of skin-tight leather pants, which many people likened to a sofa. I don't want to go there, but I need to show you the photo, just one of the still shots, because it's one thing. I have male colleagues, I have female colleagues, and sometimes, if we have a kind of relationship, we'll give each other a quick hug, right? This is not the kind of hug you give to a colleague. So yes, crazy town. You may have to wash your eyes out with bleach. It's not my fault. And there you have it. There he is. Actually, I'm going to back out of the shot. Ooh, I got to back out of the shot. There is J.D. Vance hugging the widow of Charlie Kirk. He has his arms around her waist. Earlier, his hand was even lower on her back. And she's not just hugging him. She is holding on to his head. You, of course, understand what people think is going on between them. Others think she's just another beard for him. Bottom line is, the consensus is that J.D. Vance is going to try to get Usha out of the picture so that he can have Charlie Kirk's wife at his side when he is running for president. I know, it's crazy town. Okay, mwah. Have a beautiful Halloween and beautiful weekend. I will see you on Monday.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show, where welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There is hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show.